like a boy right now. Hi, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I last uploaded. If you're wondering how this whole thing came to be, I got out of the shower and I felt like doing a book tag for some reason. And I thought, are there any book tags that would pertain to my hair being a wet mess? Thankfully enough, yes there was. So welcome to the bath time book tag. Without further ado, let's get into the tag. Okay, so Hot Water, a book where the characters were in danger. There's so many characters. Oh my gosh, my hair is drying. Hold on one second. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my gosh, my hair looks like a mess right now. Okay, to be totally honest with you, I feel like I should have left my hair up in the towel because it's like so much more neat. Anyway, number 1, Hot Water, a book where the characters were in danger. Okay, so I'm gonna choose one of my favorite standalones, which is called The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. It was one of my favorite books when I was in middle school, and it remained one of my favorite standalones even all the way into college, and even to this day, it's still one of my favorite standalones. So yeah, the reason why I chose this book is because our main character is a clone of a super powerful drug lord, and he's constantly despised by this drug lord's family. He's like considered inferior because he's a clone, and they basically treat him pretty horribly. The political and psychological and societal sort of discussions that this book like offers, I think it's honestly one of the best books I've read, and I would highly recommend it. Okay, number 2, Bubble Bath, a character too pure and soft for the world they were in. Okay, so I'm gonna choose Wylan from Six of Crows. Wylan from Six of Crows, he's like way too pure for this world. He does have the grit and the strength to move past his obstacles, but initially, you know, he's like way too naive. He's very pure-hearted. He's not willing to do some of the darker things that his friends are willing to do. Number 3, Bath Bomb, a character that changed over the course of a story. The first character that really comes to mind is Nathaniel from the Bartimaeus trilogy. He's the very main protagonist. He starts off very ambitious, and then throughout the course of the series, he kind of hits a lot of like bumps in the road. His ambition grows. He sometimes does a little bit of like questionable things, but ultimately like he does kind of come back around. For a main character, it's honestly one of the most satisfying arcs that I've read, because you know, this character starts off as like this really sweet kid, but because of his circumstances, he does become a little bit more hardened to the world. He becomes very cunning. He is willing to do sometimes a little bit of the morally gray things. But of course, the series is targeted towards young adult or middle grade readers. So it's not like too morally gray. But Nathaniel is not a very likable character in the middle of the series. It's really satisfying when by the end he does kind of come back around and he does the right thing, and you realize by the end that he really did have his heart in the right place, and it's such a great story. I don't think there's enough reviews on it. I don't think there's enough people who talk about how great the finale is. I did talk about the Bartimaeus trilogy a little bit in one of my previous tags, but the Bartimaeus trilogy is very close to being my favorite series of all time. It has really fantastic consequences. It features honestly one of the best finales I've read in my entire life, and that's kind of saying a lot because I am very picky about finales, and I don't think that I've read that many series that has really good finales. Like even the Harry Potter series, like I don't like the finale. So the fact that the Bartimaeus trilogy like satisfy me to that extent is kind of saying a lot for me. Okay, number 4, Face Mask, a character that was not what they seemed. I'm gonna choose the villain of The Golem and the Genie by Helene Recker. It has a very night circus feel, and yet I feel like it's much more well plotted because it has a lot more tangible elements. And that includes the villain. I was kind of shocked when this character became like all the more evil as he went along, because when we first meet this guy, he seems like a really harmless old man. He's living in poverty and whatnot, and you're like, okay, like he's not gonna have the means or the power to really cause a lot of havoc, and yet he manages to pursue our main protagonist overseas, and by the end you realize like, oh my gosh, this character is not what he seemed. You know, he became so malevolent by the end, and it's really kind of scary because again, like when you first meet this character, he seems very innocent, and well, not totally innocent, but he doesn't seem like, he just seems like a harmless old man. But then as the story goes on, he becomes so crafty, so ruthless. So yeah, that villain was really kind of quite surprising for me, which is why I feel like The Golem and the Genie worked really well. The fact that the villain was really unpredictable and you didn't understand where his arc was going, but then by the end you totally understand what the hell happened to this guy. You understand what his arc is about. Really interesting character. Number 5, a character that brings light / hope. After some digging through my Goodreads, I think I'm gonna choose One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I really enjoyed this book because it has some fun shenanigans in it, and then there were some really darker moments. I thought it was a really good read. The character of McMurphy, this character brings a lot of hope to the inmates of this mental hospital. Like, there's a lot of religious allegories in this book. The character of McMurphy, he's meant to be like this Jesus character. The way that he brings joy into these people's lives and the certain sacrifices that he has to make by the end of the book, it's really moving. So yeah, I definitely consider this guy the light or the hope in this book, because he does trigger a lot of changes in the system. Question number 6, a wine glass, a drunken convention trope, or a character who has a lush lifestyle. So I'm gonna choose Gansey from the Raven Boys. The reason why I'm choosing this character is because I really enjoy this character in the very first book. I did enjoy him in the later books as well, but some of the other characters kind of kicked their way into my heart as well. But yeah, in the very first book, Gansey was definitely my favorite character because he kind of felt like that character who picked up after everybody's shit. I don't know, he's a rich guy, right? He's a rich boy, definitely. He can shell out money to solve certain problems and whatnot. At the same time, I did feel bad for him because he kind of felt like very helpless in certain situations because he couldn't necessarily fix other people's problems for them. They were definitely creating problems for themselves. So that's definitely a character who has a lush lifestyle, but he's definitely not, flaunting it necessarily. So yeah, Gansey. Number 7, reading in the tub. This is the final question. A book you could not put down. I'll choose a recent book I read this year, which is called We the Drowned by Karsten Jensen, I think. Jensen, I'm not exactly sure of the name. I actually read it for the Owls Readathon. It's the very first time that I did participate, but I ended up not uploading the video because I was too lazy. But yeah, I did participate in the Owls Magical Readathon this year, and it was meant to be like the monster book of my readathon because it's actually quite a thick book. It's very, very long, but at the same time, I was able to fly through it because of how compelling the stories were, and the characters were so heartfelt at times. It was just a really great book. I really couldn't put it down because I don't know, it was unexpectedly really fun. Honestly, I think it only took me 3 days to finish because of how entertaining the book was. So yeah, I think it takes place in the 1800s. It follows the history of this town's people and how they kind of get involved in certain wars over time. So yeah, it's kind of meant to be like a historical fiction. Why did I do this? It is historical fiction. I don't think I'm doing a very good job explaining myself, but it was surprisingly really, really fun. There were moments that I did feel extremely sad. There were other moments that I was laughing my butt off. And yeah, that book was a monster, but it was something that I just could not put down. I literally finished that within 3 days. Although to be fair, I think I read that during quarantine. So there was nothing else for me to do except to read. So yeah, that was the bath time book tag. I'm not gonna tag anyone for this because I'm generally not the type of person who likes to tag people when I do tags because I don't know, I don't like to think about who's gonna want to do this or not. Even with my blog, I've been doing my blog for 5 years, and I don't like to tag people. So ultimately I did this tag because I need some time to kill, and yeah, and I kind of felt like it. I generally don't feel like wanting to film anything, but as soon as I got out of the shower and I was butt naked, and I suddenly felt like I want to do a tag. So I have absolutely no idea why. So whenever the mood hits, I need to film something. So I took the opportunity to film this. So thanks for watching, and until next time, whenever that's gonna